Oh,
Hey, man, I see you with the Bulls on, representing.
yeah, you know it.
This morning, we're going to be interviewing agent and former player Reggie Jefferson. Reggie was a 10-year major leaguer with Mariners, Cleveland, and most of all, the Boston Red Sox. Most people don't know what agents do, right? Or what what does representation mean, right? All that. So it's like people don't know. So when people ask me questions about that stuff,
Right.
I tell them what I know, right? And I also tell them that a lot of times these guys you have to know a little bit of something about the player's potential, and they're usually ex-players, and so they can kind of get a read on things, and it's more of a natural feel. It's not like we're in the entertainment industry of movie stars or anything like that, and we don't know anything about the actual business. You were in the business for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
so you know a lot about it. So that ebb and flow kind of helps, right?
Yeah, exactly, man, exactly. And I think it's a huge part of it because the players, man, a career. There's so many ups and downs, man, and it's you're going good one year and you think you got it figured out. The next year, you hit a wall, and I think that's where having gone through it really helps. When I talk to players and clients, and I think that's the big thing. People don't understand how tough it is to be a major leaguer, man. And I tell people all the time, I said, you may not like a major league player, but you'll never say that he's not tough, because to get to the big leagues, you got to be a tough guy. There's no soft guys up there. People, we throw it around, but it's tough to get up there, and you got to be tough. So it's a tough career. It's a lot of fun, but I think I try to aid my guys and keeping them on the right path and giving them good advice on understanding that you're not going to be perfect, and it's not easy.
Yeah, I always tell my guys that whenever we're playing baseball, it's like, or hitting or doing any of that stuff, I always tell them, experience is the worst teacher. It gives you the test first and the lesson later, right?
Yeah.
And you try to explain to them, it's like, I've been there, that the slump's gonna end. You're gonna come out of this, whatever. And you've been down the road with these guys, so you can kind of lead them to, say, listen, greener pastures are ahead, and see how it's gonna work out.
Oh yeah, Scott, I've got a client now in the major leagues who he had a rough 60 games last year. The league kind of figured him out, and it was going into his third year, and they made adjustments, and man, he struggled, and he put in a full off season to adjust his swing and do some different things. And he comes to spring training and he's struggling again. And man, and just, you can tell he thinks the world's going to end. And I looked at some of his at-bats the other night, and I just told him, I said, hey, every player goes through what you're going through now. I said, but you've got to trust the process. You spent an entire offseason working on something, and then after 4 games, he scrapped it, but the league's not going to scrap that plan they got for you. It's coming. So he's going to have to adjust. But I can remember the same thing. I remember going into, I think it was my 3rd year, and went to Seattle, and man, that spring training, I probably got 2 hits. I was scuffling, man, and playing with guys like Griffey Jr. and Tino Martinez, Jay Buhner. And I'm thinking, man, these guys must think I'm terrible, I'm just coming in here. And I just, I can remember opening day, we got snowed out, and Lou Piniella pulled me to the side, and he made an adjustment in my swing, and I started working on it.
Lou did, huh?
Oh, yeah. And went out and had the best April that I ever had in my life. And it was just, and that whole spring, I was terrible. I only made the team because I was out of options. So this game, man, you could be at the bottom, and it's just one thing can happen, or one adjustment, and it changes your outlook. And from then on, I went on and had 4 or 5 good years there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I was thinking about it earlier when players are talking. Like, I got a bunch of young guys that are trying to get in the draft now, right? And this is a tough scene, right? Matter of fact, there's one player out of Valdosta State. He's leading the nation in knocks right now, right? He's Division II, big dude, and this guy hit 400 in junior college, right? I mean, he's been a hitter, hit 385 at North Florida, right? But he's a bigger guy, not necessarily going to be anything special on defense by any means, you know. And I think that's the knock on guys like that is, you know, maybe he doesn't have a position or something, but I mean, you got to be in tight with people who are watching baseball all the time and evaluating, constantly evaluating, right? And what happens to a player like that in today's day and age for an agent? I mean, when you see guys like this, I mean, you guys pretty much go and they get, unless they're the top echelon guys. What is it? Top 5 rounds, top 10 rounds? Do agents show interest then?
Yeah, and I think it kind of depends. I mean, I tell people now there's probably more agents than there are good players. I mean, everybody wants to get into it. Everybody's doing it. And sometimes I get approached by a young agent. Well, a lot of times I do. And my advice is, you know, if you're a young guy trying to get into business, that's where you got to be smart. You know, you're not going to go beat Scott Boras, or you're not going to go beat Reynolds Sports or XL, these big companies, because we're targeting the top 3 rounds. You know, that's what we're targeting. And then and some agents say first round in the draft. But again, when I first started, I was at a big company, but hey, I was a young guy getting into it, meaning young in my agent career, you know, not a young guy, but I had to look and find a guy that maybe, you know, people had overlooked, you know, like a Keon Broxton, who was a football player, and I saw him and I said, hey, this guy is an unreal athlete, you know, and, you know, I didn't have to fight anybody to recruit Keon Broxton, and the guys, you know, is in big leagues, you know, you have to be smart. And I think now certain agents, again, I look for guys that are in the top 3 rounds. That doesn't mean I won't work with someone out of those rounds, because I know a lot of former players that ask me, hey, will you help this guy, or will you do this? But I think there's agents out there who do target. They're looking for guys that perform, like this guy you're describing. And I think that's how the industry is kind of set up. You know, you got those big, huge companies that are going after first rounders only. Then you got guys that say, you know, top 3 rounds. And then you have guys that, okay, you're trying to get in this business, you better find a guy that's a performer. And then you take him and you hope that he goes to the minor leagues and he hits. So for that player, he's just got to keep performing. You know, now they've got the MLB Draft League. They got this Appy League that used to be the Appalachian League. Now it's an Appy League. It's a college league. I would tell that player, apply for those leagues, get in them this summer, and you're going to have basically a 6-week tryout before the draft in July to attract attention. And
wow, man. So when did by the way, we're speaking with Reggie Jefferson, and just letting everybody know here again. When did that league start? Is that going to be, I don't know if you can hear that in the background, man, but you know, we live by Eglin Air Force Base.
Oh, okay.
Right. So them suckers are rolling right now, man.
No, barely. But yeah, this is the first year they're doing it. You know, it's kind of in cooperation with them eliminating the short season teams. This is kind of what MLB, this is what they did to make up for eliminating those teams. And it's all by design. What they're saying is, instead of drafting 40 rounds and sending those college players to short season ball, we're going to put on these 2 leagues, the Draft League and then the Appy League. We can monitor the college players who need visibility, who haven't been seen. And then we can draft some of those guys in July, and then some of them will sign as free agents. And so this is the first year they're doing it. And I was talking to someone at the Draft League, and they said that, man, the response has been overwhelming. They've actually added 2 or 3 teams because they've got so many kids trying to get into it. So it's going to be interesting.
I would think that's, is that kind of a money saving thing too from the ownership side?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I mean,
no doubt.
You pay a lot less guys.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Makes total sense.
Exactly. What they're basically saying is, why bring in that 30th round college guy and pay him for a summer and feed him and basically if he doesn't have a chance. I mean, I guess simplest way of putting it. Now we can watch that player for 6 weeks, and the guys who kind of, I've got clients who were late round college guys that went into short season and they killed it. And all of a sudden they become prospects, especially pitchers, and they fly through the money.
Yeah.
So now they're saying, we're going to watch that guy in this 6-week league. And the league actually goes all summer, even through the draft, if you don't get picked. But they get 6 weeks there. We'll watch that late rounder, and then he can make an impression on us there. And he's not under contract with us, but we can watch him. And if we want to draft him,
what do guys got to do to get into that league? What makes them qualify, or they have to have some recommendation from a scout, or how's that go?
Yep, exactly. You go online and you fill out the application, and an application will ask for 2 scouts that will give you a reference. And then they actually will reach out to those scouts and say, do you recommend this player? And they've got a panel that's picking the players. And that's how you get into it. It's a simple process. So I would encourage a player that now, for me, if you're in the top 10 rounds, I don't know if I'd go, because if you get hurt, you're not getting drafted. But if I'm not in those first 10 rounds, if you've already shown that you can play and you've shown your talents during the year, why go there? Right? Yeah. It hurt yourself.
Go there and stake it out.
Exactly. It's definitely, to me, it's for the guy who, hey, I need to be seen. I may not get drafted, or you know what, I've got a shot to go in the 15th round. I want to make sure I solidify myself in that second 10, or maybe get up higher. But if you're a guy that's already performed, I wouldn't go.
I would think, how would these players even go about getting 2 scouts to pump them up? Where do they go? Ask them, say, I see you here at the field, sir. I see you here at the field watching all the time. Do you think I'm good enough to maybe play pro ball? Would you give me a recommendation? I mean, I want to know that. I think it's so new.
I think that's where you go to and I think even your college coach can give you a recommendation, but I think you do go to your college coach and say, hey, these scouts that come through here every year, can we call a couple of these guys that have seen me, and I think you got to kind of network it a little bit, and give, but I think that, you'll find a way, if you want to get in there, you just talk to your college coach. I'm sure he's got a couple scout buddies who'll say, oh yeah, I'll recommend him. And then they're going to bet you. They're going to look up your stats, and they're going to see how you've done. But they want to help players. This has been done to totally help guys get some visibility, to be seen, and hopefully get a shot at pro ball. I mean, it's a good idea. I'm not in favor of getting rid of short season, but this is, we'll see if it's a good substitute. I think it's a good idea. We'll see how it works.
Hey, real quick, I just noticed. See that?
What's that?
See the coffee cup?
Oh, man,
that's where
as good as they used
my daughter,
to be. Huh?
my daughter in Phoenix, where they got Thomasville, Georgia. That's the place where they got married.
Oh, beautiful wedding.
That's the place to get.
Beautiful wedding. Beautiful wedding.
I
owe you on that one, man. Sometimes you be nice to people; they take care of you later.
That was great, man.
Yeah,
that was great. Last time I saw it, I was up there. That place wasn't that nice, man? Just out in the middle of nowhere.
It was. I grew up in Tallahassee, so that's right down the road. And I guess the place is pretty new, but it was unbelievable. Indoor, outdoor venue. The day couldn't have been better, man. And I was very happy for your daughter, man. She's got a great husband now in Phoenix. But they're the perfect match, man. I've known them now for, it's been 3 or 4 years that I've represented Phoenix, and I enjoy them, man. They're a great couple.
Yeah. I remember when I first called you about Phoenix, right? When he came out of USF. Reggie and I used to work out together back in Tallahassee, way back in the day at TCC. And the coach there, Coach Mack, was great and let us work out there all the time. And so we got to know each other and just have stayed in touch over the time. So when I saw him at a baseball tournament down there, college baseball tournament, it was the not ACC, it was the American Conference, right? American Conference. And I knew my future son-in-law might be getting drafted. So I asked Reggie if he would represent him. And Reggie said, I'm interested, man. I'm interested, but not sure if he's, let's see how he goes a little bit here. See if he becomes a bit of a prospect, right? And then he started kicking butt. I'm like, come on. The next thing you know, Reggie calls you up. I think he's a prospect. So, there we go. So he's involved. Hey, what is there a certain amount of qualifications someone has to have be an agent? What do they go to school for? Do you have to have a certification? How does that work?
Oh yeah. Guys come from all different areas, I think. But it tends to be, you usually have some background in the game, if you played, and it could be guys that played college baseball. Or a lot of guys play professionally, they'll kind of transition into it. Lawyers, guys that go to law school, I work with a lawyer. My background is business, is what my degree is. And then of course, 20 years in the game. So the on-the-job training helps me a ton. But you have to get certified with the Major League Baseball Players Association. They have a test that you take, and you go through that process. And once you pass that, you can be certified as a fully certified agent, or you could be partial. I'm fully certified, all in, and but they have a process. It's not a tough process though for baseball. The grind is once you get in, you got to get out there and find good players. That's how you stay in the business. But that's the process. And
so when you're doing that, you have a network of guys, right? Because you go to games and stuff, so you see a lot of the scouts and talk with them and see the prospects that are coming up. Is that generally how you end up getting guys through the speaking with guys?
Definitely. Definitely. And I'm finding now the longer I've been in it, I get a lot of referrals, like from guys like you or sometimes clients that'll say to me, hey, there's a young kid in my hometown that's a pretty good player. You got to check him out. It comes all different forms. You have, everyone knows about these showcases that go on now. I attend a ton of those in the summer. I may get a name of a player, so I go watch him play. I laugh because a lot of times people say, are you a scout? And I say, no, but I feel like it, because I have to see a guy play before I'll try to represent him. I just won't go off of someone saying, it's few people out there that I know if they say it, then it's like I saw the guy, because I know their background. But you just got to get out there and look and find guys that you believe in. You got to believe in them. I've had guys that people talk about they're great, and I go, I don't know, because it's a feel. You have to have a feel for it. Yeah.
Right. So when you how did you come about it yourself? When you you went to college, right? So after you got through school, whatever, did you just go, I don't know what else, I want to stay in baseball, but I don't want to be a scout, or how'd that come about? You didn't want to, did you try professional coaching? Did you get into coaching at all?
Yeah, well,
I know you coached the USF a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of everything you just said. When I played, I was one of those guys that was always paying attention to the business side of baseball. What was going on the contract side? What was going on in front offices? It was just, I like paying attention to it. And so I kind of felt like when I retired, I said, hey, I'd like to work for a team or be an agent. Those were my two top choices. But I tell clients, listen, man, when you're done with this game, nobody's coming to find you. I mean, they could care less. You're done and you've served your purpose, so to speak. So, I knew I had to go back to school and get my degree, and I did that. And I sent my resume to 30 teams, and I heard from 5. All 30 teams, and 5 of those teams called me back, which again proves my point that no one's looking for us when we're done, man. And and talk to those guys. And one guy, Dan Jennings, who you may know, Dan's from this part of the, I've known Dan for years, and Dan called me up and he said, hey, I've got a job as a AAA hitting coach if you want it. And I had never coached. And I said, and I told my wife, I said, hey, I got to take this because I got to show people I want to get out there and do it. And I jumped right into AAA, man. Never coached in my life. I couldn't throw BP or anything. It was terrible. And but I had a great time, and I coach guys there that they still now call me about players that I made some great relationships. I did that for a year, but then I was away from home for so much, so I let that go. And your former coach Eddie Cartieri brought me on, and by that time I could throw BP, so I was of use then.
You gotta throw the BP.
Yeah,
man.
you got to do it.
Throw
Man.
good BP, right?
Yeah,
So the manager, pitching coach, and hitting coach in the big leagues are the only guys that don't have to throw BP, right? Everybody else is.
You got to do it. You got to do it. So I did that for a year, and then I got a call from my former agent who said that they were expanding, and I had told him that I was interested, and I joined them, and that's how I got started in it. So it's kind of that a little bit of everything. I just jumped back into the baseball world, and then kind of as things opened up, it led me where I ultimately wanted to be, and that was being a player agent. So it's been a good ride, man. Hopefully it can keep rolling, man. I enjoy the game.
Fantastic, man. I was going to ask you a couple more questions, and I'll let you go. I know you're busy. So who you seeing up there in Pensacola today? Same player?
Yeah, young guy over at Pensacola Catholic, Jordan McCants. Going to be advising him and his family in the draft this year. I have to watch him play 3 or 4 times this spring, and he's got to make a decision. He's a really good player and he's doing well, and I think he's going to have a tough decision on if he's going to, attend Mississippi State or start his pro career. So I'm going to watch him, and then from here I'm going on to Atlanta to see another amateur player before I head back home, catch the last few days of spring training.
Well, if you could, with all your experience, if you were to make recommendations to players, like that was so informative. You tell us about the summer leagues and all the stuff that's going on there. If you were to give some information concerning, like, to talk to a player right now, and you were talking to young players, which, hopefully a lot of young players will be watching this, because that's what it's here for, is to give these guys some information, because they don't, how does an agent work? How does it work? And I think a lot of the players agents are really good at evaluating, first off, right? Like you're saying, you got to be like your own scout. You can't just trust everybody, right? If you don't have instincts, Reggie, who does, right? I mean, you've seen them play you've seen everybody play. You've played with the best, so right? So, but if you were to give some tips to guys, young players about, I just constantly see guys I actually have one player tell me he doesn't want to go to college. His grades are crap. But he's not even, I don't even know if he's good enough to get a scholarship in college. He says to me, I just want to go pro. I just want to go pro now. I'm like, well, you got a ways to go. You don't just, they're not just going to go, oh, okay, you want to go pro? Here you go. Give it a shot, right? I think it doesn't work that way. Yeah. So what would you recommend to players? I mean, just as far as advice to young guys that are maybe in high school and stuff, how would they go forward? How would they even become the type of player that might eventually be a major league player or a minor league player or Division I player? How would you set the goals, and what would you recommend? How would that work?
Oh yeah, I mean, every player is different, and that's how I would start out with the young man. I'd say, if you look in the major leagues, there's so many different paths to get in there. You got guys that went and played in the SEC. You got guys that signed out of junior college, guys that went to mid majors, and guys that just went straight out of high school. What I tell players is you got to recognize who you are, so that you make the right decision, because your career could be derailed so quickly if you make the wrong decision and try something that you're not ready for, or if the team doesn't invest in you. So that's the one thing. And the player's got to know who he is. And if you don't understand that, then you're probably not going to make it to the big leagues anyway. So if you don't have, those 5 tools that they're looking for out of high school, that's fine. It's again, a lot of guys went to college that are in the major leagues. I would tell every player, keep working on your game. It starts with those 5 tools, but apply them to you. You may never be a guy that's going to run a 6'6", 360, but hey, try to get below 7 flat if you can, if you're a third baseman or second baseman, because that's just going to allow you to be quick enough to play at the speed of the game when you get into pro ball. So work on those five
Which,
tools.
By the way, is probably the speed to me has got to be the one tool that guys neglect the most that I deal with. Right? People they don't work on speed. They just don't. So that's great advice right there, man. Keep going.
Yeah, because that's huge, because the speed of the game. And that's the biggest thing. You may never be that top runner, but you got to be able to handle the speed of the game when you get into pro ball. So I tell guys, work on those 5 tools to get them as the best you can. And then you got to be able to hit, as a position player. You got to swing the bat. And if you're not ready out of high school, go to college. Like the kid you referenced, he's making a mistake by saying, I'm not going to do school. You don't have to go to school and major in medicine. Go to school, show the dedication, because that's the avenue to get into pro ball. You can't get there if you don't go to school. You're just not going to say, okay, I'm not good enough to be drafted out of high school. Okay, I'm just going to go hang out for a couple of years and then they'll take me as a free agent, or they'll take me. No, you got to go to school. There's no option there. And you're going to learn and mature. Now, pick the right school. When you go to college, I was talking to someone last night, and I've been making this point in the last few weeks. It just seems like, and we'll never get away from this, every kid wants to play in the SEC or the ACC. That's just the way it is in the part of the country we live in.
Reg, I've been talking about that for a while with guys. I'm glad you went there with this. How many guys that want to go there? And I see so many guys from in this area that try and do an SEC or a bigger D1, and they come home after the first year and they've basically wasted a year because they've been sitting the bench a lot. And
it's nothing against these programs, but I just see it just from people I know, kids that I advise, their parents talking about what other parents go through. It can be very, very stressful, because it can be career suicide. The simple way of putting it. And again, it's nothing against these schools. It's just, you have to understand who you are as a player. Like you could be depth for one program, and you could be a guy that's in the lineup every day at another program. And baseball's a game you have to play. There's just no substitute.
So what you're saying is there is not a situation where not playing all the time is a good situation. It's never a good situation.
It just doesn't work in baseball. You have got to be on the field, because the game is a skill game. It's like someone saying they're going to be on the PGA Tour, but then they don't golf. I'm gonna make it. Just those 2 games, you got to be doing it. It just, there's no substitute. You can go to Alabama in football and practice every day, and then your junior year get on the field. The competition is so high, you can still be an NFL guy, because you're playing at a high level of college football. College baseball, that level is not close to MLB. There's so many levels in between college baseball and MLB still, that just playing 1 year there, you're going to be behind. So you need to be in school. Yep. Go ahead.
What would you say about the player who says, well, if I go to a small JUCO or I go to a small D1 or D2, D3, then I'll get lost in the shuffle, that no one will see me, that I'll go unfounded. It's like, no one will know about me.
Yep. Kyle Lewis.
What about that guy?
Kyle Lewis was American League Rookie of the Year last year, and he went to Mercer, and was drafted, I think, 11th overall a few years ago at Mercer. So they found him, and they're going to find you if you can play. And that's the biggest misconception. You got to perform. That's why these scouts log all these miles. They don't miss any school. They're going to go through and look. They're going to call your coach at any school and say, do you have anybody I need to come see? So it doesn't matter, and you just got to get where you can play. And I tell guys all the time, and I've seen kids that go to these programs and they just don't recognize that, okay, I'm going to be fighting 5 other guys for a chance to play. Where if I go to this other school, I can get out there and play. I'm going to have a lot of fun, and I got a chance to get better and get drafted. So it's a fine line. I mean, I'm sitting here saying this, and I committed to Florida State when I was coming up. So I know it's a tough gig. It's a tough thing to say, and then people won't do it. But again, be prepared. If you go to those programs, you better perform, because if you
I
don't,
guess
yeah.
I guess it's a lot like, what are your priorities here, right? It's like,
Yeah.
do you plan on playing professional baseball? Because if you don't plan on playing professional baseball, maybe that D1 and sit in the bench for a year or two is a good idea, because you want to enjoy the college atmosphere. But if you're planning on being a pro player, taking a year off when you're not injured is probably not the greatest idea, right?
Yeah.
You gotta be out there playing.
It is. It is. It's tough, and I think that's the fine line that you have to deal with. Is that knowing, is this the right place for me? And some guys, I've worked with guys that I felt like, okay, if they go to a top 10 program, that's the right place. They're going to be able to handle that. And I think it's just knowing yourself and where you fit in, and making a smart choice, because again, I'm not sitting here saying everyone needs to sign out of high school. I tell every player, you got to take the right path for you to be successful. That's what it's all about, because it's a marathon and it's not a sprint. To go back to the player you referenced that says, "Oh, I just want to go pro," that could be the worst decision of your life, because if they invest in you, then you're going to be on the field every day in the minor leagues, and it's the best place to be. If they don't invest in you, you could be one and done, or 2 years out of rookie ball, and then they just move on too. So it's not all roses in the minor leagues either. Again, it goes back to my point.
Oh yeah.
Know yourself, know what's best, and just continue to work on your game. That's how you get to the big leagues. Is you got to get better. You got to get better.
Take care of your own act, right? Take care of your own act and keep going. One last question, man. What do you think about like vetting an agent, or if somebody came up to like I remember when I was in college, I had some buddies that had just finished school, and they were, all of a sudden, and they were good friends, and they wanted to be my agent, right? And I'm like, I got hit by a lot of people, right? Because I was a first rounder and all that. So it's like everybody hit me, and I don't know. I don't even mess with any of that, right? USF actually created the first panel for that, where they picked 7 agents and they interviewed them at the school with us there, with my parents there, and Scott Boras was in that group the second day. And I remember on the first day, and I remember when we left that day, my dad said, "I'm not coming tomorrow. Just that guy, that's our guy." Right? It was Scott Boras, right?
Yeah.
But they set up a panel and they vetted these guys, right? They vetted the agents, and I wonder how many guys do you see out there? Is that old school stuff, and that doesn't happen anymore, or are all the agents now really qualified, or do you still see some guys out there that's a clown and he's trying to act like an agent?
Oh yeah, it's a little bit of everything you just said, man. I don't think they do that a ton now, where they set up the panel as much. I think because amateur baseball has grown and there's so much pressure and the agent business is so competitive that we're approaching kids when they're in the 10th grade, 11th grade, because it's just so competitive, and so now I think what happens is, the parents educate themselves a lot now. They read up on it a lot. The internet, it's out there. You see who are the top companies. Us as a company, we have to provide material to the families to look at it, and they do a comparison. And I think that's what you do, as a family. You meet with the agent, and like you felt comfortable, your dad felt comfortable. That's what you have to feel like. Hey, this is someone that I trust. This is someone that, I feel like I can grow with, and it's a good fit. I think, I'll go after a lot of the top players, and sometimes I'll leave the house and I don't have a good feel that they're going to pick me because it just wasn't a fit, and that sounds simplistic, but it's the truth. You kind of leave there going, man, that I just don't feel like that was a fit, and because I've been doing it so long. But then sometimes I leave and go, man, I could really click with that player. I think I could help him reach his goal. And we just hit it off, so you kind of, as a family, as a player, you want to make sure that the agent, do they have major league clients, so that shows longevity and that they do know what they're doing. Who do they represent? you know, and just do you like the guy? You know, I think that matters, because at some point in your career, that agent is going to give you advice that you're going to have to just take to believe in, because it may be that, hey, that's not a good deal for you, or it's time to hang them up, you know, and if you don't trust the guy or like him, you're just going to blow it off and you could be making a big mistake either way. So that's the big part of it. I think you go through the process of, families have so much information now that they do a good job of vetting us, and then they kind of know what's a good feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. That is some really good info. I'll tell you, it's something that players just don't know about. You know, I mean, people don't know really what is it? What's an agent's role? You know, you hear this agent, you think of some guy with a briefcase, right? He's got the tie on. And you know what I mean? They don't understand that. You know, in this business, I think it's like the Hollywood business. You always see the agent as some dolled up guy or girl that has been through the industry, and they're like, I remember when I had John Wayne, it was my client, you know. And I think it's the same thing in baseball. You got to get some guys that have been down the road and entrust them. You know, you've been through everything, and you've seen all the pitfalls and the hurdles that they're going to have to go through, and I know that's why when I saw you, I was like, man, that's Phoenix. We got to get with Reggie, man, because I know you're a very thoughtful, caring guy, and you're gonna get into it. And if you go with him, he's gonna concern himself with your best interest, Phoenix. You know, and that's what sold me on him trying to get with you, was exactly that. You know, the trust. The trust level is there. Like, this guy's gonna look out for you. I'm telling you, you know. So that's good advice to everybody, I think, man. I'm gonna give my guys that that whole new league thing that you're talking about with the summer stuff. That's fantastic stuff. I wonder, man. I bet you're gonna see more leagues jumping up. They're trying to get a panhandle. They're trying to get a panhandle summer league going, like the Cape or something. They're trying to do some teams around here.
That's good, because I think that it's good because it's easier for the families, the player, and until you're ready to go to the Cape, you don't. Nothing against these leagues. I'm not dogging them, but if I'm in Florida, why do I really need to go to the Northwoods League to play my first year of college after college? If I can play this great competition right here in the Southeast. So, if I could just stay at home and play, that works out a lot better for everyone. And then when I'm ready for the Cape, boom, go do it, man, because that's a great league to play in. But thanks for having me, man. What's that?
Yeah, no, we could do talk with your guys at the agency and stuff, and let's see if we can set up a league up here. We can do Tallahassee, so now you can be an agent and a manager. Right, manage your own team out of Tally. I'll get a team out of Fort Walton Beach. We'll get it on.
Oh man, I'm not busy enough, Scott. All right, man.
All right, man. Hey, really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you having me, man. It's awesome talking baseball, and good luck to you, man. You're doing some great things with the kids. Great things.
Thanks.
Keep it up, man.
Thanks for your time, Reggie. I appreciate it, brother. We'll see you.
All right. All righty.
Bye-bye. I'd like to thank Reggie for spending some time with us this morning, answering a lot of questions that I know I have, right? And I had an agent, and it's just, it's amazing the kind of questions you get from other players out there that are wondering what they do at the next level and how they proceed to getting some representation. And I just want to say thank you, Reg, for giving us your time. And the rest of you guys, make sure you hit that button on the bottom and subscribe to Scott Hemond's YouTube channel. We'll be seeing you soon. Thanks.